Praise the Lord, saints and friends. This is Elder Adrian Hammond. And I was thinking of a particular subject regarding this scourge that seems to come up periodically, and that's racism. But not necessarily what it is and who does what. You've been hearing a lot about that. Some of you are going to take heed to it. Many of you will not, just because I can't be a racist. It's me. I've been the most even-handed person of all. Maybe you are. I'm not going to argue about that. But my purpose today is to find out what can we do to head it off. And this is not going to be with firing different things at various people and you're racist and that's racist and she's racist and he's racist, and we already know who is. And some people are delusional, some people got it. But I'm not going to talk about who. I'm going to say how that we can, at least one way of dealing with racism. And that is study. Really, study. It means studying what? Studying books, studying archives, studying the Bible regarding racism and how one person's ethnic background doesn't necessarily make you clean or unclean, saved or unsaved, presentable or unpresentable. As it is, we've all come short of the glory of God. We've all sinned. So if anything, we've all fallen short. God should get rid of all of us. But he hasn't. So that should tell you something about what we need to do. Instead of blaming people, blaming certain situations and so on. And sometimes we blame people and we put them in that situation. So of course they would act a certain way. You see what they did? Of course they did what they did. You goaded them into doing it. Just so you can prove yourself correct. And that's another thing. If we, I'll give an instance. Right now, Cuba, we've heard all this stuff about what's happening with the Epstein files, what's happening with Iran, what's happening with Ukraine. But then we look at Cuba, and Cuba has been completely shut down. Their power grid has been completely on the fritz. And you got someone saying, well, you see, it's because of how they're living. No, it's because the U.S. has a blockade on them, so they can't get fuel. And they use fuel for the electricity. And because they can't get the electricity, it's shut down. Now, could they have, in all these years, tried to diversify and try to get other ways of being able to make electricity? Yes, they could have. But they didn't. And the U.S. knew that. So that is a instance of essentially you fulfilling your own prophecy regarding someone else, because you're the one that's putting your hand on the scale. But what's truly a way to get rid of racism is that study for ourselves. And not only just study, but study honestly, not with an agenda, but study with trying to know truth. And this is not about you. Maybe this is what your parents did. Okay, that's your parents. You don't have to do it. Maybe that's what your ancestors did. Okay, that's your ancestors. But you don't have to do it. And instead of trying to deflect the blame, okay, my ancestors did it, but I don't have to do the same. And unlike most people, let me kind of say this too. We always talk about reparations, and oh yeah, we deserve reparations. To me, to be honest, if we haven't gotten it by this time, I don't expect it to happen. Not that I wouldn't take it, but that I'm not going to hold my breath thinking it's going to happen within my lifetime. But in the meantime, what do? I, number one, make it towards myself that if there's anything that I have against somebody, first of all, make sure it's not regarding us to race, it's just regarding to an individual, and then let's go even further than that, because the Lord talks about forgiveness, how we should forgive, and forgiveness is not being weak; it's actually being quite strong. It's knowing that you have the goods on somebody and of the wrong they've done, and not penalizing them, not punishing them, but you know what? I'm going to give you some grace. Maybe the Lord will work on you. Now, I know in some situations, yeah, you're going to have to let the law deal with whatever the law does, and they got to pay their debt to society as well as to you. But the idea here is looking at history, whether it's biblical history or whether it's natural history, world history, U.S. history. All these things we should have learned something. You see, I do believe in the comment that says those of us who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it, because I see it happening all the time. In fact, in some situations, I'm like, why are you doing it? We've only done this 20 years ago. It didn't work then. Why are we doing it now? Well, it may change. No, it's not going to. It's not going to change. Yes, there's always something that's a little different, but we're supposed to take lessons from what has happened before so we don't repeat the same mistakes. And that's where essentially we really do have to learn from history. We really do have to learn from what's happened before. The things not to do, those things weren't successful. For instance, right now there is a big issue regarding immigration. But yet and still, the main people talking about immigration is so bad are the ones whose ancestors came here doing pretty much the same thing. And you know what? They faced the same arguments. The Italians faced the same arguments. The Irish faced the same arguments. The Germans faced the same arguments. The Chinese faced the same arguments. And it's been going on throughout this history. Of course, we couldn't say anything about blacks because we were already here against our will. Yeah, against our will. But yeah, that's another story in itself. But the thing is, with immigration coming in, yes, we do need to make sure there are controls. We have to make sure that it's just not willy-nilly, people just walking across the border free, which really hasn't been happening. I mean, yes, people do walk across the border, but it's not as though essentially they're just, oh, la, 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 la. I'm in the U.S. Essentially, it's let's escape. And so we're going to a place that hopefully it affords more opportunity than where I'm leaving. And plus, from where I've left, it's dangerous. And that's really two big reasons why people try to immigrate over here. Because it's more opportunity, and it's less danger. Believe me, if you're in a place whereas uh, someone was, that you were in danger of dying almost every day, and you had another place to go, you'd go there. And especially if it was offering better opportunities, you would go there. You would do whatever you could to help your family. And this is what they were trying to do. Now, yes, we have to control it. But there are places that essentially are very dangerous, more dangerous than normal. And so we have to remember millions upon millions of people came to the U.S. at the turn of the century. They flooded this place, and it wasn't through the borders of Mexico. It was across the ocean through the ships. They were trying to avoid famine. They were trying to avoid persecution. All these things were taking place. So we got a reputation of being the home of the free, or land of the free, home of the brave. And we kept it up until people began to turn a certain color. Maybe a yellowish tinge in their skin, a darker tinge in their skin. And all of a sudden, you can't come in. You can't come in. You can't come in. You'll destroy society. Really? Really? But the other areas that essentially had, and you thought they had cultures that were different than yours, you seem to be okay with them. The idea really is this, saints. No one wants a whole bunch of new people coming in. I mean, not no one, but a lot of people don't want a new bunch of anyone coming in. They feel as if essentially the ones who are the best ones will come. They're the ones that came with us. They came with us because we worked hard. We're supposed to. We did what we did what we needed to do. No, there were some slip-ups with your time too. Again, just reading history. And I'm not saying, again, open up the floodgates because everyone coming that wants to come in, especially since nowadays people do want to destroy the United States. But that's also part of history. Why do they want to destroy the United States? It's not because they're jealous. It's not because they just can't stand for the U.S. to be prosperous. No. Sometimes the U.S. did something, and they did something pretty bad. And we wanted to erase our responsibility of it, but you can't. The people whose parents you killed today are the people who's going to try to bomb you tomorrow. That is something that's also been very true. You kill someone, their children are looking for you. They hold grudges a long time. The only way we can break that pattern, say we got to stop it ourselves. Because essentially the whole idea is for us to continue that pattern. That's also history. But you think about what happened in the Bible. You think about what happened in the Bible, especially when you're dealing with the Northern Kingdom of Israel, their dynasties. With the Southern Kingdom of Judah, it's always been David. Even if one was assassinated, the people were strong enough to avenge the death of that particular person, and then they put the next eligible person on the throne, who was part of that hierarchy. That's why the Davidic dynasty had never stopped. Israel, on the other hand, was full of quite a bit, because what happened, that when they killed one person, the king, they wiped out the entire family, the entire one. That means children, adults, women, everybody gone. Why? Because they didn't want anyone coming up to fight against them. So you see that all the time. The key here is this. What we're trying to do is stop the killing. And we have to find a place to be able to stop it. As again, the Bible, as much as people may disregard it, it's very accurate dealing with people and dealing with the attitudes of people and why they do things. We should read it more so we can understand what the dangers are. But if we keep avoiding it, then we're going to be in a position whereas we're continuing the same mistakes over and over and over. And dealing with racism, if you look at it, so many people have contributed to this society for the United States. People of all colors, all walks of life. And if we should exclude them, then we are excluding some very important things for ourselves. And if we end up talking against other classes, other races, other people, then what do? We take away from our own history. That's what our history is made of. And I dare say it's also the history of the Bible. Because if we didn't have a Moabite, if we didn't have a harlot, if we didn't have someone, a harlot from Jericho that was a Canaanite, if we didn't have those people, we wouldn't have had David. Because that's where David came from. If there weren't people in Samaria that listened to Christ, then there wouldn't have been such a big revival when Philip came down there and they received and they got baptized and were filled with the Holy Ghost. And if we didn't have a Paul who was both Jewish and Roman, then he wouldn't have been able to cover almost an entire empire with the Word of God. You get my drift, you get my picture. We have to give credit to where credit is due. And people of different cultures, different languages, different colors have all come together to join in creating the progress, not only physical-wise, but spiritually, that the Lord is calling for. Because when we go to heaven, it's not going to be all white people, or all black people, or all Asian people, or all Latinos, or all Polynesians. No. It'll be some of every color, creed, nation. That was God's plan in the first place. So read your history. Read it in the Bible. Read it in your history books. Dig for it if you have to. They don't say anything about black folks. Well, go to the library. Right now we got Google. Look it up on Google. Right now we have no excuse. We're lazy. We don't want to see anything until it's put right in front of our faces. But be diligent enough to look and see what the contributions of different people have been to our own society. Not just look for your own people. Because your people, and I'm talking about all people, you are capable of the greatest of achievements and the most horrible of atrocities. Learn from that, and you will know that it's not about your race. but it's about your character. Love you all. God bless you in Jesus' name.